This is the In-Flight News, presented for Qantas by the 9 Television Network of Australia.
Hello and welcome to the international edition of the Qantas In-Flight News Service from National 9 News. I'm Lynda Kinkade. We begin in the United Kingdom, where Glasgow International Airport has been shut down after a car was driven into the main terminal, exploding into flames. Police have arrested 2 men who witnesses say were of Middle Eastern appearance. It comes just a day after police foiled a possible terror plot to detonate 2 car bombs in central London.
Captured on a mobile phone, this was the burning Jeep moments after it ploughed into the terminal building. Glasgow Airport turned into a scene of panic as emergency services rushed in and members of the public fled.
So he swung out as you would if you was taking a sharp corner, and then cut back in and cut straight into the terminal door, obviously trying to get right through the door to cause the most damage as possible.
Witnesses said some Asian men were driving the car at the time, one of whom got out of the car on fire.
When we first came out, there was a man on fire. The fire, this was before the fire department actually turned up, but somebody with a hose or outside hose put the gentleman out, and then he sort of was very agitated on the floor. I mean, initially you could have thought maybe he was shocked or something along those lines, but from then he started to fight with the officers on site there, and after about 30 seconds or so, the 2 officers had him pinned on the ground.
Police say they arrested 2 people at the scene, while the airport operators say they were expecting 35,000 passengers to pass through the airport during the course of the day. It's now been closed and all flights cancelled.
Meanwhile, in London, security has been stepped up as police continue to trawl through hours of CCTV footage as part of a massive manhunt for those behind yesterday's failed terror plot. 2 Mercedes loaded with gas canisters, petrol and nails were found on Friday night in central London. The British government is urging the public to get on with their lives, despite the latest terror scare.
The police are clear that the most important contribution that the public can make is to carry on reporting anything suspicious and to be vigilant, and I'd ask them to do that. But I must stress that we mustn't let the threat of terror stop us from getting on with our lives.
There's still no word if authorities are any closer to making an arrest, despite claims that police have a clear image of the suspect. Pakistani troops and rescuers are struggling to help the more than 1 million victims of monsoon-triggered floods in the country's southwest. The death toll from the floods is now more than 200 after 4 days of rain. Police were forced to use tear gas after villagers rioted over a slow response for relief aid.
Had it not been for bad weather, there would have been much more relief effort going on. But despite that, I think a lot of places have been given. But there are many places where still relief has to be provided.
Officials estimate about 500,000 homes have been destroyed or damaged. To Australian news now, and salvage teams will again try to refloat the stranded bulk carrier, the Pasha Bulker, tonight. The salvage exercise off Newcastle's coast is believed to be costing up to $300,000 a day, already placing the bill at several $1 million.
The biggest draw card at Newcastle for years. Thousands were drawn to the Pasha Bulker for what they thought was going to be one last view, but the planned salvage attempt was cancelled when crews ran out of time to reattach a line to one of the tugs.
Are you totally convinced this salvage attempt can work?
But we're very confident about progress. We're very happy with progress. We want to make it very clear that the government will not put a timetable on safety.
The ship is now bearing the scars of the battering she's received in the last few days. The salvage team, though, thinks she's still seaworthy.
Caution might be the key word here, but there's a price to be paid for taking it slow. It's estimated it's costing the Japanese owners of the Pasha Bulker $200,000 for every day she remains stranded.
The Pasha might be a spectacle, but many were unhappy about the barricades that kept them hundreds of metres away.
I wouldn't mind even paying to have a look, you know, if they could control the crowd, that would be all right. But
not very happy. No, it's not very good, really. I mean, come all this way and they've got it all fenced off like that.
Such is the interest here, the Ports Authority is keeping sightseers updated with every bit of news on the salvage.
They are
currently reconnecting the Kira to the vessel.
So another day stranded on Nobby's Beach. Bad news for the owners, but great for Newcastle's new wave of tourists. Mark Burrows, National 9 News.
The Sydney Harbour Bridge will be shut down. There'll be a taxpayer bill of $40 million and an influx of 600,000 people. It's all for World Youth Day, but not everyone in Sydney is rolling out the welcome mat.
More than 1 million people attended the last Catholic World Youth Day at Cologne in Germany, and while that was held in a paddock outside the city, next year Sydney will host the event at Randwick Racecourse. The Catholic Church is planning to tear down railings, fill in ponds and prepare campsites for hundreds of thousands of pilgrims. Horse trainers are furious with the racecourse to be shut down for 10 weeks.
To move the entire industry at Randwick and its relevant participants will cost in the tens of millions of dollars.
For which they want to be compensated. But so far, the Australian Jockeys Club, which manages Randwick, hasn't been able to reach an agreement with the Catholic Church.
It has a domino effect right through, because this is a very, very large industry. It affects a lot of people, and there are a lot of people that have concerns about it.
We are aware that hosting of World Youth Day here will always create challenges, and we are committed to dealing with those challenges.
But it's not only compensation which is proving to be a sticking point. Trainers are worried about the damage the hundreds of thousands of pilgrims will do to the track. And there'll be other disruptions. Traffic chaos expected when the Harbour Bridge is closed to allow a procession of pilgrims on the day before the Pope's special Mass at Randwick. Heidi Cooch, National 9 News.
The residents of coastal towns in Victoria's Gippsland region will assess the damage today after more flooding and a king tide overnight. But the high tide didn't reach the expected level in the town of Lakes Entrance, and the waters are now beginning to recede.
Caught in the middle of a cruel battle of nature, surging floodwaters heading for the Gippsland coast were locked in at Lakes Entrance by king tides. Muddy water left with nowhere to go, ruining houses and shops and flooding roads. 54,000 sandbags brought to the area, no match for the forces of nature.
We tried to bag it up and that, but she just come up through all the cracks and whatnot, and yeah, couldn't stop it.
More than 200 people registered with the Emergency Accommodation Centre, forced to abandon their homes with just a few precious items.
There was a lot of water. It was just like a big lake all around.
For safety reasons, the power was switched off to part of the town, forcing desperate residents to improvise.
The 240 power's gone out and all our 240 pumps have died. So we've got some 12-volt pumps. I'm going to get this 12-volt battery out of this car, take it round the back and keep pumping. Streets
remained underwater. This caravan now a floating barge. Emergency services bracing themselves for worse conditions tonight, with 50-kilometre-an-hour winds expected to push floodwaters towards more homes. Elsewhere, sandbagging is continuing at Paynesville to protect homes, and at Raymond Island, where up to 15 homes remain under threat. Tim McMillan, National 9 News.
In Denmark, mum's the word on the name of the baby princess who will be baptised today. Ingrid, Margarita and Henrietta are among the top names being considered by Princess Mary and Prince Frederik, but already the Danes are placing their bets.
A royal flush of pink has swept through the streets of Copenhagen as locals prepare for another regal event. But with the final trimmings underway, it seems no one is any closer to unearthing Denmark's best-kept secret. Just what name will the little princess be given?
She's going to be christened Dagmar.
Maybe Clara and Andrea, like my girls.
I have absolutely no idea.
The princess, who was born in April, could bear the name of Margarita after the Danish queen, or Ingrid after Crown Prince Frederik's grandmother.
Ingrid is very, very nice.
Henrietta, the name of Princess Mary's late mother, is also said to be favoured. But the Danes are not that interested in some of the Australian names on offer.
I have seen a lot of the gas names you have, like Kylie and God knows what. Sheila and whatsoever.
One thing is certain, the ceremony will be a low-key affair.
This time it will be a kind of royal family event, and it means that it's in a smaller scale than when you saw the little Prince Christian.
The baby princess will be baptised here in the Fredensborg Palace Church, the same venue used for her cousin, Prince Nikolai. 150 guests are expected to attend, the ceremony to be broadcast live across Denmark and on the internet.
Lynda Kinkade, National 9 News. Princes William and Harry have toured London's Wembley Stadium ahead of the memorial concert for their mother, Princess Diana. The 5-hour event, which the princes helped organise, will celebrate what would have been Diana's 46th birthday.
I think she'd be slightly amazed that we'd actually managed to do this. From what we had in our heads, the idea, to now actually seeing it in reality and suddenly bringing it to life.
The lineup includes Rod Stewart, Sir Elton John and Joss Stone. Australia's elusive hunt to win back the Bledisloe Cup has been resurrected after the Qantas Wallabies performed a drought-breaking 20-15 win over the All Blacks in Melbourne overnight. After 5 successive losses to the Kiwis, the Wallabies looked likely to succumb again before All Black Carl Heyman was sin-binned with 17 minutes remaining. Then Australian skipper Sterling Mortlock charged from halfway, unloading for replacement centre Scott Staniforth to score, pushing the Wallabies into the lead.
Mortlock! Oh, over the top! Scott Staniforth scores a try for the Qantas Wallabies.
That left Matt Giddo with an easy conversion from in front of the posts. The Wallabies have not won the Bledisloe Cup since 2002. The rain almost washed out Day 6 of Wimbledon overnight, with just 2 matches played and fans catching 75 minutes of action. Both Leighton Hewitt and Wayne Arthurs will now have to wait for the weather to clear for their respective games. But a slippery court didn't seem to bother 2004 champion Maria Sharapova, who stormed home against Japanese veteran Ai Sugiyama 6-3, 6-3. To the NRL, and the Broncos have jumped into the top 8 after a 24-16 win over the Panthers. Brisbane pulled off the win minus their 7 State of Origin stars, doing most of the hard work in the first half, led by hooker Michael Innes.
Innes to the line. Too easy. Simple as a matter of fact.
Meantime, the Warriors have ended the Titans' 4-match winning streak, posting a 22-6 win on the Gold Coast. The Kiwis put in a powerful second half, George Gladys putting the icing on the cake, scoring off this chip and chase in the dying minutes.
He gets the try and the win for the Warriors.
To the AFL, and Port Adelaide has held off a fast-finishing Brisbane to win their game at the Gabba. The Lions trailed by 40 points early in the final term before thumping in 7 straight goals, but failed to hold off Port Adelaide. To the Finance Report, and this is how the markets stand at the end of the week's trading. In Australia, the All Ords is up 13 points, while gold is buying $649 an ounce. The US dollar is buying $1.17 Australian, $1.29 New Zealand, 49 pence, 73 euro cents, and 123 yen. Finally, as family pets go, this has to be one of the most unusual. A 1-ton hippo called Jessica, who likes nothing more than a massage before being tucked up in bed. She's taking up residence with a South African couple and seems to prefer her home comforts to a life in the wild.
It is one of the rules of Africa. If you see a hippo, head the other way. But this is Jessica. And she breaks all the rules.
Je understand Afrikaans only, unfortunately.
Tony Joubert, a game warden, found her washed up by floodwater when she was just a day old. 7 years on, she's still here.
I don't know whether she sees me as a hippo or she sees herself as a human. All I know is that there's a fantastic bond I've never had with any other animal my whole life.
I see Jessica as my daughter, 100% she. I can't imagine my life without Jess. I don't even want to think about it.
We leave you the weather forecast in Qantas destinations around the world. And starting with Australia, fine in Sydney and Brisbane, Melbourne showers developing. And that's the international edition of the Qantas In-Flight News, Finance and Sport. I'm Lynda Kinkade. Enjoy the rest of your flight.
This has been the In-Flight News, presented for Qantas by the 9 Television Network of Australia.
So, you've forgotten to buy a present.